Hello, Happy New Year, and welcome back to the RevOps Show. I hope you had a great holiday and were able to take a break, relax, and refresh to kick off 2022. In today's episode, we're kicking off the year with a term that Doug has coined, the adoption flywheel. I know, not another flywheel, but this is different. Doug and Jess are going to walk you through what the adoption flywheel is and how it can be used to help gain CRM adoption in your company. It'll all make more sense once you go listen to the show. So with that, let's get into it.
Jess.
Doug.
See that? I was going to do that. Raj, that was our host throwing up a little. We can reinforce each other's statements here. Jess, what do you think of the new studio?
I love it.
I'm
excited.
This beats what's that other who even knows what that other thing is? So I want to thank our friends over at Oye for putting this together and helping us out. We'll get something up here to sponsor it, etc. I do think that we learned how to do this now, Jess. I think we got to give it a little bit more of a moved in look, right? So I'll add like a banner here that says Texas is not a place or something like that.
Any opportunity to say anything about Texas,
right?
You'll take it.
We got our screen back here where with our handy dandy logo. Oh, speaking of which, I'll change that next time. I'll make sure I'll have my RevOps logo going to the background. We got a RevOps Show logo. If we have guests, they can come up here. If we're sharing data, I mean, we're like in modern times.
Yeah, it's like the big show now.
I don't know about you. I'm excited. Like, and we're recording in the morning, which is so unlike you.
It is very unlike me.
Jess, you're gonna need to get some coffee here.
Right
now I'm running at I'm at like 180, and you're at like
you are. You're very intense for very early in the morning.
You're like in children at play school bus zone mode right now.
What can I say? Maybe I do need to get another cup of coffee.
Do you see the birthday gift my kids and daughter-in-law got me?
What? Oh, your hat. Ah, yes. Very nice.
That wasn't for you, Siri. Cleveland Browns. All right, I became a Cleveland Browns fan a couple years ago, but I didn't have any Brown swag. But now I got some sweet swag, so I figured I'd wear it for our first episode in the new studio.
I like it. We won't talk about that other team that you're no longer a fan of.
Yeah, I don't even remember who they are. They're dead to me.
Yeah,
they're dead to me. All right, Jess, I'm going to give you a minute. I'm going to let you get reset.
All right.
It's like I'm in a new home. What do you do?
I don't even know what to do with myself. See, that's the thing. I'm totally.
Raj is probably laughing right now. See, this is what Raj is doing. Right. But Jess,
this is what I want to be doing.
Don't say anything foolish, because you'll get those.
Oh wow.
All right.
Because the soundboard's not enough. We now have emojis.
We want cookie.
About this. There it is.
All right, Jess, what are we talking about today?
I want to talk about the adoption flywheel today. I want to talk about the challenge of adoption and why is that so hard, and how do you build your system to drive adoption of your users? So
at the risk that other people might be watching in a pre-coffee state like you, why don't you narrow down? Why don't you kind of give a little more context? Adoption of what?
Adoption of CRM. Let's go with CRM. Yeah. So we're rolling out a new CRM. Adoption is always hard. We've got this concept of adoption flywheel. How does that work? How do we drive adoption? What's the right approach for that?
Yeah, so I think before we talk about what the adoption flywheel is, which I'll admit that there's probably a lot of people going, okay, that's what we need is another flywheel.
I think we need as many flywheels as we can get.
But again, I think it's important to remember that the flywheel is actually a generic concept.
Yeah.
And I think what we need to do is we need to talk about what are the problems? Why is CRM adoption so hard? What are the big challenges to CRM adoption? So I'll share a couple of these, and then I'll let you ask questions, and then we'll get into what, the observation that and actually, just so everyone knows, this actually came up in a conversation that I was having with with what is now a new client, and they had been talking about the challenges that they had with, systems in the past, etc. And so in my, super creative, in the moment, always present, listening intently, active listening, came up with the concept of the adoption flywheel. So the first thing is that, and it's, wow, it's kind of such an obvious statement that it's easy to forget. What is a CRM, and what is the job that you're hiring the CRM to do? So, before you even get to any kind of flywheel effect, you have to get into a clear definition of, are we talking about what we would refer to as a CRM? Let's use the term CRM platform.
Okay.
That way we can be in accordance with our friends and masters at just kidding, everybody, our friends at HubSpot. I kind of like the term CRM platform because it infers it's more than just an endpoint application, and it's easy to forget in our space that, Outlook is a CRM.
Yeah.
Gmail is
absolutely.
a CRM.
Yeah.
Right. But I don't think that so for me, CRM is a multi-object relational database that's integrated with multiple aspects of technology. Now that integrated with multiple aspects can be multiple aspects externally, or it could be multiple aspects that are, for lack of a better word, internally, right? So you're running multiple applications, multiple functions, that it's responsible for at least a segment of discipline in the customer revenue acquisition expansion lifecycle.
Yep.
Right. So that I filled my buzzword count for today. Right. So the first thing is, what is it? So we kind of defined that, it's beyond just a straight database. Why is it? Why are you implementing a CRM? And that's actually where I think a lot of people, like, that's the first major mistake that happens with CRM implementation. And I see it. It's funny because I see people making, solid 6-figure spends, and there's not a real reason for them doing it.
Well, because you need a CRM to run a business, Doug. Don't you just? We need a CRM. Like, that's.
Yeah, and in fairness, it's a true statement. But we talk about the prime directive is the business process has to drive the technology.
Yep.
By the way, it's funny. Everybody that I tell that to is like, yeah, I've been saying that for years. Everyone says, yeah, I've been saying that for years, right? I think this week, and it's only Tuesday, I think I've had 5 companies say, "You're speaking my language," and I'm like, okay, well then where is it? I think it's one of those things that when you say it, it's obvious, but
yeah.
If there's not a clear reason why someone is using it, well, we want to know what's going on. Okay, that's good. What does that mean? Right. And I don't mean to, like, you don't have to get in the weeds necessarily,
Mm-hmm.
but you do have to have, very clear operative definitions. What is the job that we're doing here? And so I think one of the problems with CRM adoption is that the commitment's one way. Right. We're asking the commitment of the user. We're asking for the commitment of the sales rep, but management and the executive team isn't committed to it. Right. They're committed to having access to it, but they're not committed to, like, okay, well, what is the business process that this is supposed to accelerate and enable?
Yeah, and I don't want to get us too off track of what you're talking about, but the other reason that is so important, to define the why behind the CRM implementation is it is a CRM platform can do so many things. And the other thing that I see happening frequently is we don't clearly define, what are we using this for? Also, if it's a new implementation, what is launch? Like, what are we trying to do by launch? You get lost in the 20 other things that you could do with it, that you totally lose the narrative, and you're trying to do this big huge thing and implement, 10 different things with it simultaneously. I think that is another place where you lose adoption.
I think that is true, and even more, it's easy to forget that infinity exists between 0 and 1. Like, it's easy to know when your system's not working. And we used to have someone who worked here. His nickname was either "that's next on my list" or "automate it." We need to automate it, right?
Yeah.
And so, like, there's when your system's broken, and there's the promise of technology, and it's like, yeah, we should just automate that. Yeah, I'm keeping this spreadsheet up to date. Shouldn't a computer be able to do it faster, easier? It's like, well, and you remember, a week or so ago, someone said, look, I put together a really simple table. And it's like, yeah, no, I get that. I get that putting together the table was simple, right? Programming it so that that's where it gets a little bit more complex. Like, it's easy to know when you're messed up. And there's this belief of it being like there's the right implementation, and or there's another mistake is that launch is the finish line, so we try to get the CRM right for launch. And to a degree, and I don't want to scare anybody, but the CRM, like, the system is never right, because the world is constantly changing, and what you're doing, and God, if I'm remembered for only saying one thing, it's always about managing trade-offs. If I make this choice, I'm going to like these aspects about it, but then these things I'm not going to like, or, juice for the squeeze, or, any of those things. It's so easy to identify, hey, I want this. Well, I want this. Well, I want, and you, that it becomes, it's funny when people look at our roadmaps, when people look at our designs, though we now have something to compare it to make us to not create this. People look at it, oh my God, that's way too complicated.
Yep.
We now have something to show to say, no, let me show you what complicated it is.
Yeah.
We're going to protect but it's really not complicated. It looks complicated because you see several levels of it, but if you're not clear on what that path is, if you're not clear on, what's the old saying? You can't control the wind, but you can control the set of your sail.
Yep.
Right. And so it's the same thing here. If you don't know where you're going, well, how about this? What's his name? Who's the guy that wrote, is it Jonathan Swift wrote Alice in Wonderland?
It was not Jonathan Swift.
Yeah, I knew that was wrong. It was, oh my God, I can't believe I can't remember who wrote Alice in Wonderland.
We're going to do a quick Google search. Hang on. Lewis Carroll.
Lewis Carroll.
Yeah.
Lewis Carroll had it right,
right? That too. One of my favorite books.
The owl, right? The owl said, if you don't know where you're going, any road will get you there. Right. And so that's what happens. If you don't know the job that you're doing, why are we doing this? Then if you don't have that clear destination, you can't have commander's intent. You can't set your sail, right? You can only set your sail by the wind, which is, that moment. And because you're dealing with complex systems, you create lots and lots of drag. You create Rube Goldbergs, you create Frankensteins, you cobble, whatever you want to say. Because it's one thing to say, like, is the system cobbled or crafted? But I mean, I can have the most crafted application in the world, and if the why and the system and the process isn't clear, then it's going to be just as cobbled.
Well, and I think sometimes that feels complex because that's the hard work, right? Figuring out the getting the process defined, answering the questions you have. That's the hard work, and that's why it feels complex, because that's hard.
If I hear you saying that's the part that feels complex because it's complex.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm just want to, but you know what? If this stuff, what's the old phrase? If this were easy, everyone would be doing it.
Yeah.
Right. Running a business is complex, especially scaling a business. I'm firmly in the camp today. It is easier than ever to start a company. It's harder than ever to scale it.
Yeah.
Change is faster than ever. And the thing that's scary about that is I've been saying that for 10 years. and every day it's still true.
Yeah.
And so like all of those things are going in. You're barking out multiple orders to your reps, to your marketers, right? That's the other thing we have to understand is if you have a CRM, everybody is using it, whether they're using it or not. Everybody is using it. Think about that one. Sit on that one for a couple minutes. Yes, everyone is using it, whether they're using it or not.
Can you explain that a little more? Because we've talked about the concept, so I'm familiar with it. But
Yeah, well, I mean, I've seen a lot of situations for for a number of different reasons. A lot of times because of the cost of the system, not everyone has access to it, so not everyone actually uses it. But everyone's job is being impacted by that. Marketing is doing whatever marketing is doing, whether marketing is, I mean, I've heard lots of people say, well, no, our marketing team doesn't touch the CRM.
yeah,
They only use the marketing automation platform. Well, guess what? They're touching the CRM.
yeah.
And the CRM is touching them. Right? To quote the great Neil Diamond, never mind. Touching me, touching you, sweet Caroline. Can be taken out of context, so I'm not going to go there.
But you still did.
No, I didn't. I was just sharing where I wasn't going, so everyone knew that I didn't go there.
Okay.
Yes, everybody. This is why Jess does not let me work with our team on an everyday early morning. Anyway, so like, one of the things that we see is, a lot of situations where everyone doesn't have access to the CRM. That is a problem, because whether they have access to it or not, the 17 things that they're doing that don't get translated or don't get seen or don't get viewed or whatever, like that impacts your CRM.
Yep.
So all those things come about. And here's the bottom line. And it was funny because I had a conversation with a really interesting CRO last week, and he actually apparently followed through on what could be perceived as an exception to what I'm about to say. The only way that you're going to get a rep to use the CRM, to adopt, let me change that. The only way that you're going to get a rep or anybody to adopt CRM is when using it is easy, when doing their job is easier using it than it is not using it. It's the only way they'll adopt it. Then the CRO came back and said, or that they'll make more money using it. He actually followed through. I thought he was kind of saying the same thing, because I'm like, well, if it's easier to do my job. But what he was actually saying was he was talking about the stick side of it. He actually did implement, look, if this stuff isn't in the CRM, you don't get paid on it. And somebody closed. He said the first time somebody closed a good sized deal and they didn't get paid on it, word got around real fast. And the thing that I would say about that is, yes, that's true if you actually follow through with it. And he would be one of the very rare ones to really follow through on it.
Yeah.
And B, what you'll get at best is usage of it. You won't get adoption. Because here's the other thing about the CRM. And my friend Todd at Insight Squared likes to talk about it. Whether you have access to it or not, the data that impacts your business, as we think about, from an executive standpoint, and I don't care if you're a 10-person self-funded, if you're a 10-person bootstrapped, family business, or you're a 10,000 person high growth company about to go public. If you don't have good data, if you can't get the signal, and by the way, as big a fan, and I'm a huge fan of analytics, that. I'm also a big fan of the eye test. Like, I don't believe that the quantitative eliminates the qualitative. I don't believe that the system takes away the individual. I still believe that the salesperson and the marketer are features, they're not bugs.
Yeah.
But if I'm only reliant on what I see and feel, then I'm quickly becoming the knight in Monty Python and the Holy Grail, right? But you've got no arms or legs.
Yeah.
Right. Yes, everybody. That's my English accent. I know it's really bad. That's why that's why I'm not on the impersonation circuit. But right. So if you don't have that, and you won't have the data that you need. You won't have the insight. You won't have the signal if you have usage, not adoption. Right.
Yep. Agreed.
And so that's why adoption is so important, and that's where the adoption lifecycle, that's where the adoption flywheel comes in. But so before I go into that, Anything you want me to clarify, or any thoughts or questions you had so far?
No, I jumped in with where I had questions, so I think we're good to roll into it.
So the flywheel comes from the flywheel in its business usage comes from either good to great, where the book Good to Great, Jim Collins wrote about, where he talked about the flywheel or the doom loop. And then where it got really popularized in the sense of how it's used in business. So like HubSpot uses the flywheel now incessantly. But where they got it from is actually Jeff Bezos, who talked about the Amazon flywheel. And it was about how, by putting more products on Amazon, more people come, which enables them to sell for which enables them to sell for a lower price.
Yep.
I'm sorry. Selling for a lower price enables more people to come, which enables them to get more products on the marketplace, which enables more people to come, which enables them to sell at a lower price, which enables more people to come. And so how these, and part of it was the argument of why do you bring in, the third party sellers? Did that actually increase, the adoption flywheel? So the point of the flywheel is, it is self-reinforcing, which means it is an infinite loop, right? So the more people use it, the more that you can separate the signal from the noise, which means the more you can isolate the difference between the actions that matter or don't matter, which make it easier to use. I'm sorry, the actions which make it more valuable and make it easier to use, which enables more people to put more information into it, which enables more insight, which enables more signal versus noise, which makes everyone's life easier, which enables more people to use it, right? And so when you're looking at it, the key is it's all about the launch. Right?
So why is it all about the launch?
Well, because I said.
Well, okay, then we solved it. We're done.
Well, because at launch you're going to make a decision, right? How usable are you going to make this?
Mm-hmm.
So people make two mistakes here. They say, look, I want to keep it really simple. I want to keep it really vanilla.
Yeah.
Right. Because we had this system and it took forever and nothing ever quite worked, et cetera. So I don't want to do any of this automation stuff or this we're just going to keep it really, really simple. Okay. The problem with that is there's no juice. Doesn't make my life any easier. As a matter of fact, it brings no power with it. If we keep it really, really simple, then, I mean, by definition, the moment you make it your instance, I mean, if you want to keep it really, really simple, most of them today, I mean, heck, even Salesforce, I could buy Salesforce. I can buy it online. It will come up. It has a CRM in there. It has stuff, and you go, okay, everybody, there it is. That's simple, right? I think most people that have more than 20 people would say, well, no, 20 people in their sales marketing. No, that's not enough. Okay, so we're going beyond. So we're now customizing, right?
Right.
So if we don't customize it enough to matter, then there's no juice, and that means it's a storage receptacle, which means only the stuff that I think matters. So let's go back to my example. Let's say that I actually prevent people from getting paid if they don't keep things up to date in their CRM.
Yeah.
Well, you don't know who I talked to today.
Yeah.
You don't know who I called today. You can't. So what you get is you get the success signal. So that's taking an operations viewpoint. Well, we need, by this stage, we need to know it. We had one company that, you can't quote if you're not in the CRM.
Yeah.
Right. So when did every deal get into the CRM? Just before
quote stage.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. So they picked up adoption there. And by the way, what did every rep say about it? Why am I doing this? This is wasting time.
Yeah.
Right. And what information was in there? Minimal information, right? Nothing.
Yeah.
And so what all you get is the success signal.
Right.
Right. You don't see where, what happened earlier, where where did we do this? Hey, we're doing a new product launch. we're testing messaging out. So if I'm not using it fully, then I'm not getting the data that I need. So if I'm too simple, right, then there's no juice. Now the other side is we try to get everything, or we try to change. We try to take it in one big step. Well, here, and one of our rules of tech is if you can't do it manually, you can't automate it. Right. And so now you end up trying to automate a whole bunch of things, and I'm sure this story will bore you, but because you've heard it a million times, but it's like, when I used to, when I would work with hitters, I would always start, hey, let's start with the feet, and then we'd work up to get the hands into the right place. Well, why don't you start with the hands? Well, the hands are in the place that they are because of the feet and the weight distribution. I'm oversimplifying this for purposes of time and not boring Jess to death. Right. And when I change your feet and weight distribution, your hands are going to naturally change. Right. Yep. So the moment you implement the new system, things are going to change. Some of it's going to get better. Some of it's not going to get better. New things are going to emerge. By the way, when you rise in performance, it's like when your first round is CRM, you lift up. Well, guess what? The challenges don't get any easier. Right. Yeah. They actually get more complex because you're actually more nuanced. You're more in the whatever choice I make, they could all be right. You've heard me say this many times. Look, you've told me 7 different ways you can do this. And and I want to tell you, you can be successful doing it any of these 7 ways, but you can only be successful doing it one of them.
Yeah.
We've got to pick. Right. And that's really where you get your Frankenstein systems and your cobbled systems, is because, well, it's like how most weekend golfers golf. I really like this from this person's swing, and I like that from that person's swing, gotcha. And I like that from that, and you go out and you golf, and somebody says, "Hey, can I give you a tip?" And then, "Can I give you a tip?" And "Can I give you a tip?" And before you know it, right. You've got 17 people. Your swing is 17 different people's swings, right? That's why if you follow golf at all, they'll talk about the famous coaches like they're almost schools, right? There's the David Ledbetter school, there's the Butch Harmon school, there's the right, this school. And it's because, look, all of them have been successful. But, if you're going to make this decision, other decisions come along with that. And so that's really what, the adoption flywheel is. Where's that inflection point that initiates the base level of usage that creates insight and value for everyone to make it easier to do core things, which makes using the system easier, which makes building the system more worthwhile, and advancing the system, which increases usage, which increases insight, which enables you to advance the system, which makes it even more powerful while keeping it easy, right? Yeah. And that's why we call our launches simple, lovable, complete. Is they have to be simple, but they also have to be complete. And that's the, like, I think it's called the gamer's paradox. It's a big element when, if you program for games, mm-hmm. right? Remember when Angry Birds was like the hot thing? And I mean, it was so hot that I think they made a crappy movie out of it.
My kids love that movie.
Yeah. Well, what happened was it was really interesting for a little while, but then it stopped being challenging, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
When I was coaching college baseball, there was this app called Flick Home Run, and so okay. Like the ball would be pitched and you'd flick it, and if you got it far enough, you could see how far. And like at one point, I think everybody on the bus was playing Flick Home Run, and it was like, I mean, I found myself, while they're warming up, et cetera, if I wasn't doing anything, I opened up, I'm playing Flick Home Run, right?
Right.
Then all of a sudden, out of the blue, I just stopped. Like it was just because it just got to the point where it wasn't interesting or challenging anymore. So if a game's not, if there's no stretch, then it's boring, right? But if it's too difficult,
yeah,
right. And I forget the game that I had here. I couldn't get past level 1, and someone came along. Oh no, well you have to do this, and I'm like, okay, yeah, no, that's beyond my ability to comprehend. So pass, right? And so like when you're crafting it. And by the way, this is something else that's important to understand. And we talk about don't think, but that's really, we're talking about that, don't make me think, that's really about the base level, because what a good CRM will do, what a good CRM implementation will do, it will actually cause people to think about the things that matter. It will bring some stretch into it. So like when I'm updating my CRM, I'm updating my strategy.
Yeah, and it's a good point, because when we talk about don't think, and I talk to people about don't make me think. Don't make me think about the things that the admin things, the things that aren't important. Don't make me think about how do I input this data point. We want them thinking about the
Right.
right thing. So I have more and more been kind of talking about it that way.
Correct.
Yeah.
Don't make me think about how the technology works. Make me think about what matters to me. And so in using the CRM, I'm actually building my strategy. So it does stretch me a little bit. Right. Yep. But if it stretches me too far, then I'm not going to do it, or I'll, wait till later, or, if it captures just a fraction of the information, then there's no point going back to it. If it captures the right chunk of it, like I don't need 100%, but I need, and so you find that, and that's why I say it comes down to the launch, right? Simple, complete makes it lovable. As it's lovable, it gets used. As it gets used, more people talk about it, right? And then before you know it, and by the way, like the sales manager, I'll tell you this, if a sales manager is on anybody about updating the CRM and ever goes to the rep to say, what's the status on this account?
Yeah.
I'm going to call the sales manager out of compliance. The best way, I've gotten hard ass salespeople to adopt, because I go and I say, so hey, I noticed that we haven't been able to do anything in XYZ account. I know, 2 months ago they were like really hot. What do you mean? I've talked to them 8 times. By the way, I usually know that they talked to him 8 times. I'm like, oh, really? Oh, okay. Well, wait, hey, give me that information if you could. I want you to know, this was on my exception report to my, right?
Yeah.
Because now that person knows. I'm not coming to you to say, hey, I'm putting my exception report together. Is there, like, I noticed you haven't updated this.
Yeah.
Right? That's babysitting. It's like, hey, it hasn't been updated, so it's on my exception report.
Yeah.
Oh, wait, no. Okay, cool. Right. You just kind of demonstrate that it's being used. Marketing is able to deliver the right piece of content, make the right suggestion. Those things. And someone goes, oh, wow. A rep gets an email when the deal goes from this stage to this stage, and this other element is connected. And it's, hey, here's 3 pieces, here's 3 blog articles and a checklist you can use that are right on point. The rep's like, right. Those are the things. Now you can't get there in step 1. Right. And so, that's why launch is so important. Now, what does that mean if you're not changing your CRM? Well, no one says you have to change your CRM to launch.
Yeah.
Right. And if you look at what's happening in the go-to-market side of things, especially on the tech side, they're addicted to product launches.
Oh yeah. 100%.
Well, but here's the thing. Why not learn from that? No one says you only have to launch your CRM once.
Yeah.
Have a quarterly or semi-annual. Okay, everybody, here's the problem. Here's this. Hey, we've been testing this out, right? Because what does the launch refocuses? It resets. It gets everybody excited. We get back to what the narrative, et cetera, is.
Yeah.
Right. Those are the elements that, as you do those things, it really comes down to this. The easier it is to use the CRM in a way that enables you to capture more, the more valuable it becomes and the easier it becomes to use. And that's the flywheel effect. And so, the 2 elements to understand about the flywheel effect is the flywheel doesn't start off fast, right? We're not trying to get everything in one step.
Yeah.
Right? Think about your CRM implementation and, what is that phase implementation? Last point on this, and I'll ask any other questions. Your CRM implementation is never done. Right? Launch is not the finish line. Launch is the start line, which, by the way, is the reason to have multiple launches.
Yeah.
Because if we launched the CRM 3 years ago, I'm in a 3-year race. I've been running for 3 years. Right? Well, now the next launch, I get to restart.
Yeah, I think that's a piece that a lot of people miss, and that's why you have the inclination to make it perfect before you quote unquote launch. I really liked what you said about the actions that make it valuable, because I think that hits on kind of the different personas, if you will. So like I think defining that's important, making sure that we define, what's going to make it valuable for the users, what's going to make it valuable for the managers, what's going to make it valuable for sales, what's going to make it valuable for marketing, and kind of defining those things to help drive what you end up doing.
So if I may say something, not to pick on words,
Mm-hmm.
but that is, I think you need to clarify those things, not define them. And the reason I say that is, I know if I say you need to define this, someone's going to sit down and say, okay, why should a rep use a CRM? A rep should use a CRM because blah, 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 blah. No.
Yeah.
That's the technology driving it. What's the business process? What's the business issue? What's the performance issue? Here's the thing that's interesting. This shouldn't actually be hard, because nobody that I've talked to, maybe there's somebody out there that's doing this, but nobody that I've talked to, and I think we're up to like almost 30 implementations this year, is implementing CRM, updating it or implementing a new one because they want to win the CRM setup award.
Yeah.
Right. Nobody's goal is to have a great CRM. Their goal is to have the outcomes. Right. That's why they're doing it. So that's the more natural part of it. I know a lot of people get intimidated by the CRM because more and more technical nature. Well, guess what? I'll let out a little secret, because we're going to do some pretty advanced development stuff here. But it came from, I don't know anything about coding or development. Right.
Yeah.
I don't. But I understand the business process, and I don't get lost in it. And when I'm able to clarify what is the business need, all of a sudden possibilities emerge, conflicts resolved, et cetera. So it really is, defined as this act of, it's this new act, right? And so you're not wrong, but I'm just saying, like, I know the psychology of that is like, it's not about the CRM. I had a golf coach, not a coach, but I took a lesson with a golf pro who, to take some swings, took them, and I'm like, hey, I'm hitting it pretty well. I'm like 7-8 swings, and he goes, okay, I can see what your problem is. I'm like, dude, I don't know what you're talking about. I'm hitting the ball pretty well right now, and you've only seen 7 swings. Like, yeah, I know what the problem is. Like, okay, smarty, what's the problem? He said, your problem is you're trying to hit the ball. And I looked at him like, okay, I might have hired the wrong coach here. I may have hired the wrong golf pro. I actually said that. I said, I may have hired the wrong golf pro. Because I thought the whole point of this thing was to hit the ball. He said, no. He said, see, when you're trying to hit the ball, that in your head, your swing ends when you hit it, right?
Yeah.
What you need to understand is your swing begins when you're finished with your, God, I'm going too early for this. When as you're pulling back, and it ends at the end of your follow through. What you want is the ball should interrupt your swing. Right. And the CRM should interrupt your business process. And actually, it shouldn't even interrupt your business process. Your CRM should feel like that one ball you get every round that causes you to come back and pay an exorbitant amount of money to do something that you're horrible at. Right. Where it's just,
yeah.
And that's why, and it's funny because how hard do we have to work when we're doing our process deep dives to go, no, forget about the tech.
Just
tell me about how do you do what you do.
Yeah, and I'm constantly hearing in those, well, I don't know if the CRM can do that. I don't know what the capability of the CRM is to do. Yeah, that's a hard thing for people to walk like.
And half the time they can't.
Aside.
Like, I'm not sure the CRM can do what I want it to do. Okay, well, what do you want it to do? Then they can't tell us.
Yeah.
So, well, I can tell you this: if you can't tell me what you want, it sure as hell can't do it.
Well, that goes back to that's the hard work, right?
Yeah, that is the hard work.
Yeah. I didn't have any other questions. I think kind of what you covered. I like I said, I really liked what you talked about making it valuable. And then
is this what you're saying, Jeff?
He's doing that, not me, guys. But yes, that is what I'm saying. And I think the point about the system never being right and its trade-offs, like that's one thing that I don't, that's another hard concept for people to grasp, is it is all about trade-offs when you're talking about kind of implementing, especially at launch, because at launch you naturally want all the things.
You know what the good news is about not being able to be wrong, about not being right, is can't be wrong either. The other thing I would say too, and I know a lot of people get lost on this, is they're like, hey, guess what? I got news for you. Everything that we can do can be changed.
Yeah.
Right. Now, let's not change everything too fast. Right. But what do you do? What does the operations team do at the end of the launch? They plan the next one.
Yeah.
Right. It's like what they say. What's the difference between a good haircut and a bad haircut? About 3 weeks. Right. Now, what's the difference between a good implementation and a bad implementation? The reality is a bad implementation is one that is built to be comprehensive, complete. Like this is the right, because that's hard to unwind. That's hard to fix. But if you look through that lens of simple, lovable, complete, what are the core elements? Let's move this forward. Where's the right place to stretch, but I can't fail. Like that's what it is. Stretch, but can't fail. Stretch, but can't fail. And if you do that, you get to walk up this chain. And what's really cool is it's a geometric progression. It's not just linear.
Yeah. Yep.
And that's the key. That's the benefit of the flywheel. So that's what the flywheel effect is the more it can be used, the easier it is to use, the more it's used.
Yeah. And I hadn't thought about that, about it that way before, but having been involved in the implementations that we've done this year and prior, I mean, it does make sense, and it does work that way.
It also means that the way you mandate, for lack of a better word, also phases, right? You come in and you're like, okay, like I always say the first 30 days, don't tell them this, but it's a free pass.
Yeah.
Right. Because they're, oh yeah, this is going to be great. Right. This, 30, 45 days in, no one's done anything. Right. What do most people do? We've spent all this money on this. What you people have to, no. Okay. Hey, get right. All right. Now, so, and like that first 90 days of real implementation, what are the key core elements? Okay. Now we begin to raise it a little bit more and people begin to use it and people go, oh, hey, wow, this is cool.
Well, and we have a client who I've really seen kind of this evolve in a flywheel manner. We launched with the sales team. The success team wanted to get in. Now we've got, operations and hey, what are you guys doing over here? Hey, can we get our team in using the CRM more? And it's really like,
and remember where they were when we started.
Oh,
and actually a team that you're not even thinking of. Look, this group, their salespeople might use a CRM. This one, they'll never use a CRM.
Yeah.
Now everyone's using a CRM.
Yep.
And now those groups are asking for more advanced, right? That's the flywheel effect.
Yeah. Cool. Well, I thought this is really interesting and like you said, some good takeaways from it.
And look at the studio, Jess.
I know. We're like big time now. We're like real.
Alrighty. Until next time.
And that's a wrap on this episode of the RevOps Show. Something that got my attention that we should always remember is that using or changing a CRM doesn't just affect the sales or marketing team. It affects every part of your business. That's why adoption is so important. Anyway, if you enjoyed this episode, please make sure to go subscribe on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, leave us a review, and share the episode. If you have any questions you would like to ask Doug or Jess about the adoption flywheel or anything RevOps related, email me at hannah@imaginellc.com or hit us up on Twitter @demandcreator. Until next time, remember, you can't solve your upstream problems downstream.